Fitness with Paul Rosen.
Our diets, our Western diets in America are just really, you just don't realize how poor they really are.
What would you say to others who would like to feel better?
Sometimes you need to find the instruction. That's where the testing and everything comes in, because without that knowledge, there's no way I could have got to the point where I'm at today.
Straight talk about health.
And then I start preaching and telling them what I've been doing. And this guy named Paul Rosen has changed my life.
With your host, Paul Rosen. By the way, the information contained in this program is not approved by the FDA, nor intended to treat, diagnose, or claim to cure any medical condition or disease as defined by Western medicine. However, skilled practitioners of many disciplines have found nutrition response testing to be a highly reliable supportive technology for assessing the health and fitness of the body's functional system.
So, Paul Rosen, according to the Centers for Disease Control, over 93 million Americans have one thing in common. Can you guess what that is?
Yeah, they're overweight.
They're fat. They are. And according to the CDC, also, as of 2008, the latest year for which figures are available, that obesity among Americans costs our economy about $147 billion. And maybe more personally, if you are obese, you spend about $1,400 a year more on health care than you would otherwise.
Yeah, it's definitely a problem for a lot of people. And hopefully by the time we're done with our show today, they will have a better idea of what they can rely on and what they can't rely on with regard to handling that condition.
Let's just begin then, Paul. Why are we Americans, getting so fat? What's going on?
It's what we eat. It's not so much about the exercise. Yes, people should exercise, there's no doubt. But myth number one is that a calorie is a calorie.
What do you mean by that?
So losing calories or lowering your calories has been the touted strategy, my gosh, for decades with respect to losing weight.
That's pretty much everywhere. I'll back that up. And you can see it in our commercials. You can see it in ads for everything. You can see it on the products. It'll say contains fewer calories. So why is that a misconception?
Well, number one, it's never been proven, ever. There is no scientific research that backs up if you exercise 2 calories and you only take 1 in, that you're going to lose weight. And there are a number of reasons for that. But the most important reason is that the body is a very complicated mechanism. And it has lots of fail-safes in there. Fat is an extremely important source of energy for the human body. And whereas sugar, although much more easily utilized in the body, is not. I mean, it's important, but there's so much more density in comparable quantities of fat versus quantities of carbohydrate. And the fail-safe mechanisms are there to prevent starvation. Your body will start shutting itself down system by system as it recognizes that there might be some calorie restriction. And the result of that is not necessarily the loss of weight. It's the shutting down of various systems.
So by trying to eliminate calories, we're denying our bodies other essential things it needs to function properly.
Well, that's number one, but we're also playing around with the body's fail-safe mechanisms, protective mechanisms.
So that's something that can happen. That's a worst-case scenario. But does this avoidance of calories constitute a complete myth as to what's the best way to make our bodies lose weight?
Yes. And the reason is if you go back and you look at studies that have been done, going back for decades, what you find is that if you just cut calories and then exercise more, well, once you stop that, right, within a period of 2 weeks, generally speaking, 2-3 weeks, you've not only gained back all the weight that you lost, but you gain back plus 10%.
Why is that? Why do you gain extra weight?
Why do the birds go on singing? Why are the clouds up above? Too complicated. What? See, I caught him. Look,
By the way, that was Skeeter Davis for 1963, the end of
well,
the world.
it just,
For those of you wondering.
Dates me. What can I say?
It really does.
I'm 70 years old.
It also reveals I used to be a disc jockey to know that kind of thing.
Yeah,
but
I know.
What is the answer then? What is the answer
well,
to
the answer
why?
the answer is that there are too many. The body is too complicated to be able to pinpoint a causal relationship. This thing for that thing. But I can tell you this. It's not cutting your calories that will ultimately enable you to lose weight.
So let me ask you this, Paul.
There are other reasons why one might not be able to lose weight, and that's what I see in my clinic. Even if you've got the wherewithal, the willpower to cut your calories dramatically and exercise your brains out, what a lot of people find out is it just fatigues them, and or they can't keep it up. And when they stop keeping it up, as I said, the weight just floods back on. And furthermore, it doesn't necessarily address the various types of physiological dysfunction that people are experiencing.
Here's the scenario you described. Somebody decides to lose weight, so they cut out calories and they exercise. They get tired of that very quickly, however, and maybe they've achieved some results, but when they stop, not only do they regain the weight, they regain more weight.
Correct.
And I'm not quite sure why that is. Is it because your body has made some kind of adjustment that makes it more susceptible to gaining weight?
Not that to gaining weight, but these are survival mechanisms that are that have evolved with respect to in our bodies, about our bodies, survival mechanisms.
So your body is like overcompensating for the weight loss
for the next starvation cycle. It's like, you follow?
I do follow.
Yeah.
Now that does make sense to me. But what do you do to compensate? I mean, if you've gone ahead and done the exercise and tried to make adjustments to your diet to lose weight, isn't it that you have stopped that's the biggest factor in making that whole effort a failure? You see what I mean?
I'm not quite sure that I understand what you were...
you get into some good habits and then you just stop doing that.
The question is, are they good?
Habits.
The question is, are they good habits? And that's a big issue.
Well, there's the nub of it right there.
Yeah.
So really, we're defining losing calories. We've done for decades. We've defined that as, cutting calories out of our diet. We've said that's a good habit. But now you're saying, well, maybe not so much. Let me ask you this, though. Can losing calories contribute to weight loss as part of a larger program? In other words, you're doing other things in addition to that, but you're just not counting calories all by itself.
Counting calories is a waste of time.
So the answer is no.
It's just a waste of time because there are healthier, more effective ways to lose weight. And in my clinic, when anybody comes to see me and they say they're number one, so they come to see me, and they have high blood pressure and high blood sugars, and they've got migraines and they've got stomach disorder, and oh, by the way, the thing that I want most important is to lose weight. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that occurs in my clinic.
In that case, I'm assuming all these other problems maybe relate to their weight problem.
No, they don't. They're concerned about their weight, but because they have been sold the bill of goods about if you lose weight, your health gets better.
That's not necessarily true?
No, it's not.
Well, you're looking at a guy who's bought that myth then, because I would have assumed that if you
now,
lose
remember,
weight...
we're talking about all of this is personal. I mean, if you're talking about a person that, has a body frame, say like yours, which is, 5 foot, 9?
I'm 5'9", yes.
Okay. 5'9", and,
160, I weigh 160 pounds.
Yeah, 160 pounds. And if you weighed 250 and you were 5'9",
it's more problematic.
It's more problematic.
That obviously would have a larger impact on my overall health.
If you're just looking in the mirror and you notice you got a little extra something around the middle, carrying extra 5 or 10 pounds, that's a totally different deal. But my point is that the myth that a calorie is a calorie, whether it comes from carbohydrates like a potato, or it comes from protein, or it comes from fat, they're not the same, viewed by, not utilized the same, viewed by the individual bodies.
Aha, so there's the nub of it right there.
That's the nub of the myth. That's the nub of the myth. So the next myth is choose diet foods to lose weight, right? Go diet foods.
What supposed
It's another
advantages?
total myth.
Well, what advantages do they offer?
Calories.
Diet foods. And that's it?
Yeah.
Are they selling themselves as having a benefit in any other way?
Diet foods?
Yeah, they're just saying fewer calories. We know that. We'll see those
If you're
ads
making
everywhere.
diet foods, I'm sure they're pulling stuff out of their ear with respect to, what benefits it might have. But diet foods in general are just not beneficial. They're not beneficial because anything that's a diet food is often processed more than some other whole food.
So you're actually eating a food that may lack other essential nutrients. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, it's obviously a billion-dollar business then, because I'm not going to toss, brand names out there, but you'll see all kinds of branded diet foods. So obviously we have, as Americans, for decades, bought into the idea that there are benefits to those particular products.
And the next myth that I want to get out on the table is that you should avoid fat, especially saturated fat. Nothing could be further from the truth. Now, you want good quality fat. Fat is essential, right? And for most foods, scientifically, as fats are broken down, there's usually more unsaturated fat in that food than saturated fat, just by definition, except for dairy.
Why is dairy an exception?
Because it is.
Okay.
I mean,
that's my favorite
Why?
answer.
I know.
Because it is. Stop asking me stupid questions.
it is what it is. I mean, why dairy is constructed that way, I couldn't tell you.
Fat should be a part of your diet if you want to lose weight and if you want to be healthy. Is that what I'm hearing?
Eat fat. Eat fat. But what kinds of fat? Well, most importantly, if you're going to eat a steak, for example, you're going to eat beef. Now that's been, poo-pooed and thrown to the curb, just in general. But not so fast. Not so fast. The percentage of fat in a steak, your average steak, is only 7%. And of that, only 2 to 3% is actually saturated fat.
So we should be looking for
That's out of all of the water, which is about 70%, right? And then the protein, which is about 23%. Then you got your fats, and your fats are broken up into saturated and unsaturated. So anyway, bottom line is eating low fat is a lie. Diet foods are just another way to eat foods that have very little nutrient density in them.
But the caveat is eat fat, however, eat the right fat.
The types of fat. If you're going to eat meats, of course, make them organically raised, pastured. It'll say it on the label if it's done so. Obviously, fed non-genetically modified foods. No soy, if at all possible.
So you do have to have a list of qualifications or, things that are healthy for you.
And then butter. Eat plenty of butter. Lots and lots of butter. Lots of butter. Pastured. Of course, if you can find unpasteurized, that is absolutely the best.
And that's because it's healthy fat, right?
But if it's more than that. But, butter is healthy fat. Yes. Butter is healthy fat.
And it has other benefits.
Many. So eat plenty of butter, coconut oil, olive oil, sesame oil, even peanut oil. Those give you enough choices, and you can't get into trouble with those.
And this may get an eye roll from you, but I'm going to assume that margarine is not an adequate substitute for butter in terms of getting these nutrients you've mentioned.
The only fat that is absolutely known to cause heart disease is trans fats, and margarine is trans fats.
Counting calories, that's a myth. Also, avoiding fat, that's a myth. You want fat in your diet. What else, Paul?
Reduce your cholesterol to extremely low levels.
That's the myth.
That is.
So we do want cholesterol in our diets.
Cholesterol is not the problem when it comes to heart disease.
Why have we bought into that for such a long, long time?
You know, it's such a complicated issue right now. A lot of it has to do with, money and power, and almost nothing to do with actual science and substantiated information.
So I'm guessing there's a big industry around what?
I take my clinic is all about helping people avoid and or if they're already on them, get them off prescription medications. And of course, some of the most common medications that people are on are statin drugs, in this particular case to so-called control cholesterol, and blood pressure drugs, as well as oftentimes drugs, to address a diabetic condition or pre-diabetic condition.
Is one of the dangers then of focusing on cholesterol the fact that we're buying into these medications, the statin drugs in particular?
Well, I mean, the downsides are absolutely well known, and if you don't know them, you should go out there. Statin drugs, I mean, unless you have a long history of familial hypercholesterolemia, or your total cholesterol is above, 350, you shouldn't even contemplate, not even contemplate utilizing a statin drug. Keeping your cholesterol low will not. There is absolutely no substantiated science to show that will reduce your death from heart disease.
But as there are good fats and bad fats, are there good and bad cholesterol?
Not really. I mean, that's the shorthanded way of describing things these days, but you have to have both. LDL and HDL cholesterols have a function in the body. One takes the cholesterol out of the blood supply, one puts it back in for a reason, right? Your brain is primarily cholesterol.
No kidding.
Yeah, I mean,
so eggs are brain food.
Also, eggs are brain food.
All right,
as well as other types of things.
I'm going for an omelet after the show.
Yeah, I mean the making the devilizing eggs has just been a mistake for a long time.
Yeah, no pun intended.
No pun intended.
Devilizing eggs,
right.
But we've demonized eggs. How about we put it that way?
Too, yes,
we've demonized eggs.
Well, we can put it both ways.
Okay.
I wanted to make it devilized just to be a little ironic.
Yeah, but you'll hear people just toss that one off. They'll say, "I'm cutting down on my egg consumption because I want to control my cholesterol," and
which is for the most part foolish. Now again, the right type of egg to be consuming is organic. Are basically eggs made from from chickens that aren't being fed hormones or soy or they're allowed to run around and eat insects and so forth.
So speaking quickly of farming techniques, the chickens, I assume, are pumped up with stuff to make them fatter and better producing?
Well, not the ones I just described, pasture-raised chickens.
Right. Well, that's the difference. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're talking about commercially grown.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basically, the huge chicken factories they have going on, not only for laying eggs, but for butchering the chickens and putting them out there as delicious, banquet
morsels
frozen meals.
Of tidbit.
Or whatever they are.
Anyway, myth, reducing your cholesterol. Forget about it. That's not the issue. Now, remember, folks, I'm just not putting this out there because I've got nothing to back it up. In my clinic, where I have spent 27 years working with people who basically are castaways from the current medical system, have turned, oh my gosh, I mean, I can't say how many hundreds or maybe even thousands, I don't know at this stage of the game, who have been able to get people off of medication, off of pretty much most every medication, unless things have gone too far, unless you've just waited until there are insurmountable physiological damage or structural damage, to parts of your body. Other than that, the medications are simply unnecessary. If you're willing to change your lifestyle, and what that means is it means you've got to look extremely closely at what you're eating and then see someone like me who can provide you with a personalized, specific nutritional healing strategy. Because everybody thrives on slightly different types of food. There isn't a person who goes on their own personalized nutritional healing program in my clinic that doesn't easily lose 7 to 10 pounds without even trying. No exercise, nothing. Because all of a sudden, the body is getting the nutrient density that it needs. Has nothing to do with calories. We never count calories. But know this, that just losing weight does not necessarily mean that you'll regain your health, especially if you already are experiencing some physiological dysfunction. Any kind of chronic symptom, from the mildest to the most severe. Losing weight is not the key to addressing the root cause of those issues.
But I would assume it's part of an overall health program, is that right?
It is an essential part. In fact, it's the foundational part. If you aren't willing to change what you put in your mouth, you cannot supplement your way to the goal that you're seeking.